All right. Good morning. Welcome everyone here. It's great to see that we yet one more time full here live, and we also have record number joining us online to follow the live stream. We even had so many people joining that we have several meetings later today to follow up with all the interest. So that makes us really happy. Furthermore, boy, we look forward to present the numbers for you today. That's for sure. We will follow the format as we have done the whole year. It will be myself, Sten Kirkbak, joining in the intro, and then Knut, our CFO, will take you through the financial details. Kjetil will guide us through operational updates, and I will end with an outlook. So we have one more topic on the agenda today that we normally have. We have added post 4, which is some post-quarter events, because already after closing Q3, quite a lot of things going on in the company, so we'll give you a little update in that regard as well before we move into the outlook. I just wanted to use this slide to give you a little overview of the quarter before we go into the details and the numbers. And when we started 2024, we had high ambitions and aspirations for this year. We illustrated that, as you can see in our Q1 report, with putting a rocket on our shoulder to really kick off our ambitions for 2024. We used that in our marketing campaigns, but it was also a symbol internally where we were going. We allowed ourselves to celebrate a little in Q2, celebrating the Women's Football Championship, but also symbolizing internally 2 profitable quarters in a row. And then for Q3, even before we started, we should climb the highest peaks to reach new goals, which we have, almost as steep as the development in our revenue. But the most important thing with this slide before we start with the financial is that in Xplora, we are more than 100 employees, and this is accumulated hard work from every single one of our fantastic employees that has made this happen. Even though it's myself, Knut, and Kjetil that's presenting for you today, we are presenting on behalf of every single one of our employees that has made these results possible. With that, let's go into the numbers, high level at a glance. Group revenue this quarter up 35% to 257 million, of which recurring service revenue also up 36% to 75 million. We ended with subscription of more than 220,000, 226,000 to be precise, in a combination of SIM and other service revenue. And one of the very important factors you can see from our gross profit, up 45% year on year to 125 million. And the number we have worked so hard to accomplish is our reported EBITDA at 30 million NOK. And I know Knut is very satisfied also to end this quarter with 177 million cash in the bank. That gives us great flexibility. That's the high level, and Knut will now guide us through some of the details before going into the operational update. Knut.
Thank you, Sten. Now Sten has gone through the most important numbers, and I think all of them we are quite pleased to dig a little bit more into the details on them. When we see at the revenue, we've gone from 190 million a year ago in this quarter to 257 million. That's 67 million in increase year-over-year. It's a fantastic increase from Q3 last year. If you look at the revenues in services, that increased with 20 million, and the rest then came from the device sales. Looking into the gross margins for the two different revenue streams, the services continues to be very, very strong, with 83% gross margin in this quarter, and this has been very stable for the last 7 quarters. So it's quite easy for us to predict as of now. And as you can see, if you follow the numbers, the revenues is almost following a ruler, and you can easily calculate what kind of gross profit we will have from our service business. Also, the gross margin from devices was very strong this quarter, with 34%. That's also on the high side compared to previous quarters. The overall gross margin was 49% in Q3, and in this quarter, we had exactly the same contribution, gross profit-wise, from services and from devices. 50% of the gross profit came from services, and 50% of the gross profit come from devices. So we are more and more happy about the contribution from the services, even though we have a very, very strong device growth. When it comes to operating expenses, that also increased compared to Q3 2023 with 17 million. And the most important increase in this quarter is the increase in marketing expenses. That's 7 million. And that follow very nicely with the revenue numbers. So it's approximately exactly the same percentage if you calculate total revenue, marketing expenses from total revenue, and also if you also calculate marketing expenses from device revenue. It followed the same percentage in Q3 2024 and Q3 2023 for all practical purposes. It's a 0.5% deviation. And as Sten already announced, we have a 30 million EBITDA result in the quarter, compared to 8 million in the same quarter last year. And please remember that the total EBITDA for 2023 was 34. So we consider this as a very strong quarter. When you come to the balance sheet, I always repeated that we have the goodwill and the customer contracts from the Xplora is still the main part of the non-current assets here, and the customer contract is fully amortized end of Q1. Inventory is lower compared to previous quarters. We had previous quarter as 100, and that time I said that that's follow very well the increased demand that we have. And we have also now 80 million in inventory, and that also follow the demand. We have better control of inventory, we are better to plan, and we can manage with some more fluctuations in the inventory. So 80 million in inventory is a level that we are quite happy about. When it comes to... Yes, I can move over to the next slide. This is a new slide, and it tries to present the impact we have on the improvement in net working capital. And you can see that we have had a very flat net working capital, including cash and current liabilities, over quite some quarters. But from Q2 2024 and up to Q3 2024, this quarter, it's increasing. So this is strengthening the whole operations that we are working on. We started the quarter with 126 million in cash and cash equivalents. We had the increase of 70 million in cash flow from operating activities, and we have some change in debt. It's 13 million. The only thing we have there is the reduction in supply chain financing and the down payment on Innovation Norway loan. The Innovation Norway loan is fully paid down in Q3 2025. CapEx, 7 million in the quarter, and that's compared to 6 million in Q3 2023. The CapEx is balancing very good with our target of around 20 million for the year. So, by this cash flow overview, we end the quarter with 177 million in the bank. And if you also compared with what we had in the bank exactly a year ago, we had 116 million. So this is absolutely something that we are very happy about. It gives us the flexibility we need in order to do what we should do. Thank you. Kjetil?
Good morning. I will start by taking you through the development of the smartwatch unit sale, because that's the prerequisite for our services growth. Then I'll take you into the service revenue and also the RP development before I will conclude with some operational things we have achieved in the previous quarter. So we see that the smartwatch unit sales is up 30% year over year, and that's the highest number ever. Increased from 125,000 last year and up to 163,000 this year. A 30% year-over-year growth, where we see that the DACH region, which is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, had a growth of 44% to 90,000 units, and the US grew by 50%. We also had a first delivery of our product that we developed specifically for the German retailer MediaMarkt, together with the MVNO Freenet. And that was the first 10K were delivered in August. And we see that the sales of that product goes very well. I'll come back to that towards the end of my presentation. We also see that the average sales price, the ASP, increased from 1,021 to 1,098 quarter over quarter, and that is a result, in addition to currency exchanges, from the effect of the price increase that we did in the German region on XGO3 and X6. We got a partly effect in the previous quarter, and in Q3 then we got the full effect. So all in all, 30% up, and that is the basis for the growth in the services that I will present in the following slides. The services subscription base, which is a combination of the mobile subscriptions, the premium activity platform service, the service revenue from telcos, and the service fee, grew by 44% year over year to 326,000. That's exactly 100,000 services up compared to same quarter last year. That's quite outstanding growth. And you are very familiar with the mobile subscriptions. That is the biggest individual service we have, 233,000 units. And we operate our telco business in 9 markets. It has also the single highest RPU of the various services. And we had a 54,000 year-over-year growth alone on the mobile subscriptions. The premium activity platform has proven to be a true success story for us. We surpassed 60,000 services in the previous quarter. And that is the activity platform, which is our core value-added services. We bundle it with the mobile subscription plan, and we sell it on individual basis through the Xplora app. The service revenue from telcos is something which is quite unique for Xplora. I think it's quite unheard of that we get revenue from the telcos when they sell our hardware, but that's what we have achieved through our strong brand positions in some of our markets. We have that in place in the Nordics with several telcos, and we have it in the US. And we got a breakthrough in Germany when we added our service on top of Freenet's mobile subscription plans. That's related to the Let's Go customized product we developed. The service fee is a service fee that we capture for the usage of our services if the customer selects to use a different SIM card compared to Xplora's in the Nordic region. The major objective with that service is not to cash in on the service itself, it's to maximize the conversion of our mobile subscriptions. So when we introduced that end of last year, we see that the effect of that is that we get a significant uptake in the mobile service subscriptions in the Nordic region. That takes the service revenue of mobile or smartwatch sales to 100%, except for the units we sell to telcos in the Nordics. So the isolated effects of introducing the service fee is a 15 million additional revenue on the mobile subscription plans because we get people to buy our plans instead of using something else. So that's a thing that to specifically mention. If we then look at our mobile subscription base, which increased from 189,000 to 243,000, we saw that in Q3 we had the strongest net growth ever within one quarter, with 22,000. And this is also the service where we have the highest churn. So 22,000 net growth is really strong within one quarter. And we see that the share of the net growth is 50% in the Nordic region, but Germany really gearing up with 35% of the growth. So we have now 28,000 subscribers in Germany, which is the second largest market for us after Norway. Mobile subscription service revenue, again, very high growth, 36% year over year. Knut has already mentioned it, going from 55 million last year to 75 million. That's 20 million in the quarter up, and this is where we have 83% margin. The annual recurring revenue grew from 222 million to 301 million. We are getting less dependent on the Nordic region. Germany increased from 2 to 7% share, the US from 2 to 4, and UK holds 2% of the service revenue. So more distributed service revenue, but a significant growth of 36%. The ARPU is the income, the monthly income from each subscriber. And here we measure it based on our mobile subscriptions, either the basic service or the one including the premium service. And you see that the 4-quarter rolling ARPU has increased quarter by quarter for many, many quarters. So comparing to Q3 last year, we have an increase of 5 kroner per customer. And that gives us 15 million incremental revenue. So 15 million from the service fee, 15 million from increasing the prices, 83% on the incremental and 100% on this part. So that's a significant contribution to our improved EBITDA. We have done this by having annual price increases in some markets, especially Nordics, where we have been in operation for many years. But we also introduced a consumer price index adjustment 1st of July this year in the Nordics, affecting 170,000 subscribers. So that alone gives more than 8 million on an annual basis, incremental margin actually. Another effect, a reason for why we are able to grow the ARPU is the churn effect. When we have increased the price over time, we have the oldest part of the customer base churning out, and then we get in new customers on a higher price. So that's also an explanation of the effect. Then you see on the right-hand side that there is a regional difference in the RPUs. We have the highest prices in the Nordic markets, while the price range from 4.75 euro to $17 in the US. So there's a very big difference in the prices in the markets outside of the Nordics, and they are in general at a low level, except the US, where we also have high RPU. Then some operational highlights when it comes to what we did in Q3. We introduced generation 2 of XGO3, our entry product, with focusing on the jungle theme, which kids find very fun, with a wide selection of colorful wristbands, so renewing the entry-level product. As I said, the Xplora activity platform, big success for us, surpassed 60,000 premium subscriptions, and we release new content every month. And then what I find very exciting and a breakthrough in the German market is that we, for the first time, have achieved a service revenue from a German telco by introducing our premium service on top of Freenet mobile subscription plans, in cooperation with the largest German retailer, MediaMarkt. They entered into this project where we specifically designed a product for them by committing to 30,000 units over 1 year. They took the delivery of the first 10K in August this year, and they will take delivery of the entire forecasted or ordered base by December. So 30,000 over 5 months instead of 12 months. Sales going very well, and we can report that they started selling the premium service on the 14th of October, and we already got 1,000 of these services in 2 weeks. So a very good start for us there. And that concludes my part. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kjetil. So we added this one slide before we go into the outlook because it's been quite busy for us in a good way. So after we closed the quarter, we would like to emphasize 3 particular topics. The first one is, as you know, 17 October, the Swedish Finance Authority approved the deal or the offer we made on Doro. So that was published 17th of October, distributing all the offer letters to all the shareholders at Doro. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we will then be receiving all the inbound from the shareholders at Doro, start counting. And once we have finalized the counting, which will go throughout the day tomorrow, we will, of course, publish the result of that. So next action regarding Doro, because there is a lot of questions in that regard, we start the counting at 3 p.m. tomorrow, and we will publish once we have finalized that work. So, of course, one very important post-quarter event in that regard. It's also a lot of questions, of course, related to US. It's a very big and very important potential market. Kjetil already gave you some insight from an operational perspective. And also post-quarter event was that we published that Xplora, together with AT&T, we have now finalized the MVNO setup. And for our X6 product, we are now planning jointly with AT&T to have that finalized for the Christmas sale. Meaning that as we speak, the product of that collection are now being wrapped and packed with our MVNO SIM card from AT&T to be make ready for start the sales in order to meet the Christmas timeline. So a very important update. We also wanted to highlight that as it's been a long process, but finally we are there, allowing us to put more emphasis in marketing and investment to grow the US market going forward. The third announcement we also would like to emphasize in this post-quarter event is that the recent announcement we did with HMD, the largest European manufacturer of smartphone and feature phones. As you all now know, we have been working for a long time to evaluate what is the best possible strategy for us to enter into the youth market. As Kjetil mentioned, of course, we churn at the age of around 10. We wanted to have a rock-solid strategy in order to grow quickly into the market of youth from 10 to 15. And we were very happy when we could announce a strategic partnership with the largest European manufacturer of smartwatches. in order to enter into that market. I will come quickly back to that as well. So 3 very important announcement we did at the back end of closing Q3. So the road ahead, we wanted just to emphasize our high-level strategy before we go into the summary of the outlook statement. This is a slide from our Capital Market Day back in June. And as you saw from Kjetil, we have now passed 300 subscription, but we have a long-term ambition to reach 1 million subscription. As we said during the Capital Market Day, in a 4-5 year time perspective. 1 million subscription is our goal. We also then said we would like to do so by growing into 3 different categories: kid, youth, and senior. And that's also why we have been working so dedicated in order first, as we said already back in Capital Market Day last year, we said we will do absolutely nothing except make sure that we can make profit on our core business, the kids. Before we're able to do that, we will do nothing else. We had the turnaround, and as we presented today on our kids markets, age 4 to 10, we have now demonstrated a strong profitability and growth. We will continue to focus on SIM conversion and increase lifetime value and RPU, as Kjetil commented. But our core business, the kids market, is now strong. We have strong profitability, and that's our core business. That's why we now allow ourselves to go into these 2 new verticals. And when it comes to the youth market, as we just mentioned, we have now entered into a strategic partnership with HMD, allowing us to quickly enter into this category with a very fast time to market, because we have a strong lineup of product. We will reduce the need for heavy lifting when it comes to the CapEx. And as we mentioned, we also have lesser concern about the working capital as part of that strategic arrangement. So it allows us to quickly enter into that market, and of course it will boost our lifetime value. We can address churners and an increasingly demand in that market segment, 10 to 15 years old. As well, that's also why we had a strong M&A strategy into the senior market with a fantastic team from the Doro in Sweden and beyond. They already are specialized into that market category, allowing us to really innovate with them to even grow that category further and beyond. And as we mentioned, key category or key priority in the initial phase of this will of course also be to integrate our existing SIM card into that big portfolio. Remember, they are selling 3 times more products than we are selling today, which gives us huge opportunity to come. So as I said, next step, 3 p.m. tomorrow to start counting shares in that regard. That leaves us with the outlook. It's more or less the same as it's been throughout this year. We started by saying the market expect roughly 15% growth on the revenue level. And with the recent number, we of course have an increased comfort to beat that market expectation of 15% growth. We'll continue to focus on our service revenue. And as Kjetil also mentioned, we have managed, as we said initially, to introduce new service revenue deals. Kjetil took you through some details. And also when it comes to our OpEx, operating expenses, in percentage of revenue, we will throughout this year demonstrate an increased efficientness in that regard. And also we have a target for our CapEx to still be below 20 million. We have made a slight change on the product and service launch outlook, saying that we are still targeting for December to launch our first SaaS service deal with 360 in Asia. And then we have added that for the youth phone, the collaboration with HMD, we will announce our first products already during Mobile World Congress in March next year in order to launch that into the market as quickly as possible. And still we remain with the target to launch their first senior watch in December 2024. One comment to made in that regard, if we close the deal with Doro, we will of course analyze timing and details for that launch. All right. With that, please join me on stage and we'll go into our Q&A session. Both questions from the live audience as well as anyone here present. And we will have multiple meetings throughout the day, so I know a lot of questions will come later today as well. Don't be shy, please shoot. And if I can have all the questions online on this screen, that would be wonderful as well. Or did we just present so clearly that no questions required? Oh, this will be the first time. Yeah. Anything you would like to mention, Knut, potentially upcoming dates, timelines, or anything worth addressing?
No, it's just to mention what Sten said. According to announcement of Doro, we are starting to, well, the advisor are starting to count the number of tender shares from Doro at 3 p.m. Tomorrow. And that's maybe the most important date coming up in the near future.
Excellent. Now, questions are popping in. The revenue is much higher than your past 6 highest quarterly revenues. Are there any one-off sales or in particular deals done now, or is it regular sales? That's actually a good question.
Since the service part now accounts for such a major part of the business, that is underlying very stable but growing. So that, let's say, minimizes or reduces the fluctuations in revenue. We have had steady sales, I would say, in Q3. I can't point at any special, let's say, one-off deal which accounts for an increase in the total numbers. It's all over, I would say, quite very good, strong sales, both in the German region, in the Nordic. I pointed out US, where we had very high web sales in the previous quarter. So it's basically all over stable growth and no one-offs.
Excellent. Actually, the next question is quite similar. Congrats on the strong watch sales. Do you know which markets drove the strongest growth? I think you just actually commented that. Have to mention as well, you have now about 175 million cash in the bank. Do you plan any dividends to the shareholders? We normally get that question. Well, actually not so much before, but now. Knut?
Well, this is of course entirely up to the board to propose these things, but we are also up for a very exciting days coming in the next couple of weeks. So we need a good cash balance to be taking care of these opportunities. Yeah. So we might come back to that at some point.
If Doro acquisition goes through, what is the expecting closing date and the timeline from the announcement?
So if it goes through tomorrow, that we have enough shares, 90% or more, we had in the press release that we announced, well, it feels like ages ago, that we will most likely take over Doro around 15th of November. But we will see tomorrow. That's up to the shareholders of Doro to give us that opportunity.
Actually, another one on Doro. Assuming that the Doro deal closes, can you say something about the timeline in order to implement the first SIM cards?
We are working on the preparations as if the deal goes through. So we have started with designing the mobile subscription plans, but it's of course up to the Doro organization to take this to market. Don't want to commit to any date, but I would, let's say, indicate that the first 1 or 2 markets could happen in March next year.
Here's a tricky one, Knut and Kjetil. Can we expect an equal reaction or results in the next quarter? Please be mindful when you answer that one.
So we had a very strong quarter compared to Q3 last year in Q3, and we also expect a strong quarter in Q4 compared to Q4 2023. I think that's all we'd like to say at this moment.
Last one here. Inventory seems lower than the historic average. How do you feel about that going into the next quarter? Is it because of planning or other reasons for lower inventory?
It's a combination of different things. It's an optimization from the logistics department, but it's also that we have been through a transition where we have introduced new products and at the same time have had some of the previous generation in stock. So we have been through a change in the inventory and the product portfolio over the last couple of quarters. That is one or two explanations.
All right. That was all the questions. So if no more questions live from the audience here as well, we will stay here for the next 30 minutes or so. So we are happy to have any one-to-one. We'll be here actually throughout the day as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good day forward.